Nice to see you again.
And yeah, like
Welcome to
same,
the
lovely to see you as well.
session.
Okay, thank you.
What we'll just go into a bit of having a look at the quote for today, and then we'll have a look at the lesson, and we'll do a meditation, and that should take us to the hour.
Okay.
So let's have a little screen share. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can read the quote there.
God is love, and as pure love, He is always inclusive, and I believe that we should be too.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks so simple, but I think in this world, it struggles with that. I think we all struggle with that sometimes, maybe when we get triggered. So I would say if it is always inclusive, is for me, what comes to mind is how we're all connected. If we translate that to pure formless awareness and we're extensions of that, that's all inclusive.
Mm.
When we're in our world and then things get complicated, and actions and behaviors happen. It could be special love relationships or not, friendships, work relationships, or anything, or just interactions with other human beings. One gets irritated with another one just as a start, or then it starts becoming a bit of a separation. You against me, us against them. You did this, so I'll do that. I'm not going to, and all that just spirals, right?
It's the hardest thing. I mean, this quote's very simple, as you say. The principles, be inclusive. We all divine. So to see everyone as that, love everyone unconditionally, and say those words, and you can agree with the sentiment. I think there's many people who do. Oh, that's beautiful, that's lovely, but to actually live it is entirely another matter. So it's a very high degree of spiritual involvement to actually live that and not judge others and not separate them out in your mind. That's why we do the work. Like, well, the tendency of the ego is always to judge them, separate them off from you, make them into something other than you. And then the separation is active, very much active in your mind. Whereas, spirit doesn't exclude anyone. It doesn't matter what they've done or said. It doesn't look at behavior. It overlooks that and says, well, they're still the pure formless awareness of perfect love, even if they have no idea. And you can't, see that from their behavior at all. Underneath that, there is this pure awareness still, and it's just been covered over. And so what you're seeing then is the ego's illusion of that person, that it's showing you in the dream world to try and convince you that its thought system's real. It's a fiction. That person, as they're behaving, they might absolutely believe in the ego. They will if they're identified with it, but it's a fiction. What you're seeing is not true. It's a made-up character in a made-up dream, and seemingly real, but not. So this, the quote's really simple, but to actually live it is. If you can love it, you're enlightened. That's really the test. You can not judge anyone, include everyone in your awareness, and you recognize that everyone is you. That's the hallmark of enlightened beings, always has been.
I can say for myself, it's like, if I think of people I have close to me in my life, and I love them. And I was actually watching there's a series I was watching, and it's on Netflix. It's called Uncoupled. It's gay. Well, it's more around mostly these gay men, these characters, and then there's like these three close friends, and one, they were at this wedding, and there was one has just told his friends, okay, I've just been diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. And then there's another one who brought this, I mean, he's kind of in his late 40s, and he brought this young 20-year-old something as a date, and then somehow he starts chatting up like the waiter there, and that the 20-something-year-old who was really quite infatuated with him was quite upset. So there's an example. And then the friend who's got the cancer, you know, like he comes to his friend and says, okay, I'll come with you to the doctor's appointment. And he said, I don't know, but it came up as like, okay, you know, that he's, you know, he's selfish and narcissistic, but I love you. I mean, but he said, if you think of me like that, why are you friends with me? I love you anyway. Like, I love you anyway, despite what your character seems to be. It was quite, and
that's unconditional.
Yeah.
So it's the hardest thing. You know, unconditional love is divine love, God's love. It's the thing we struggle with as human beings because it makes us not human. Do you see that? It makes us divine. We're no longer human then. If we can really love unconditionally with the divine love, we no longer define ourselves as human. So it undoes our so-called humanness, you know, the separate self completely, which is why humans are not good at it. Because if you identify as being human, you unconditional love is totally alien to you. You've identified yourself as the separate self, and then special love is the best you can do. That's what the ego offers you. So this is the undoing of the ego. If you can love others unconditionally, then you are in that pure formless awareness of perfect love yourself, and that's the quickest way. And that's why the course's focus is on relationships so much. And if you can do this, it's the quickest way to collapse your ego. So let's hear what. I've just had did a little bit of commentary on it. So if you want to read that, it just explores this idea a little bit more.
Okay. Today's quote by Mary Vasquez, an American author, poet, and social entrepreneur who overcame post-traumatic stress disorder after being raped and has now published 2 books designed to help other people overcome PTSD, reminds us about the simple truth that God is pure, perfect love, and this love must include everyone and everything. But what does this really mean? You may well ask yourself, how can I really love the often grotesque, weak, and hostile, and always impermanent forms of life and its frequent insane behavior in this world? The answer
so this is the question, isn't it? Like how do you actually? Because a lot of teachers don't necessarily explain that you know it's not about loving the form of it. It's not about the behavior. It's not about the form of whatever it is, of that person or that form of life, and whatever you're seeing in the appearance. So the answer is, then carry on.
The answer is that you can't love these grotesque and temporary forms of life because they are not real and they were therefore not created by God or stated in an alternative AOLG language, pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is by definition formless and without impurity of any kind.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know when I was reading this today, it's like, I think it takes, to putting that into practice or really understanding it on a deep level is challenging.
It's going to challenge your ego to the very core of it and undo it. But
I think it just ties into, what is what is real, because he's still in this form, right? So
you have to overlook the form, because you can't love. A lot of people try and apply unconditional love to form, and you can't do that. You're never going to love form unconditionally, because you're going to see all the errors. You focus on form, you see the errors. Your mind goes, well, how is it possible to love that? That's clearly an error. That's grotesque. That's insane. That's whatever the judgment is on it. And then there's no unconditional love. The unconditional love's broken, and you're not in pure formless awareness. You're now in a separated state of mind. So you can't do it on the.
yeah, I think when it's explained
the
like this,
level answer
it's
doesn't
looking
lie
at
on
all the
level 3.
negative part, but what about all the positive part? Because for people that you feel love for deeply, I mean, special relationship, family members, friends, or your partner.
Well, you got to ask yourself,
I
why
gave you
do I
that
really love
example, right? Of that, but that friend says, I love you anyway. Is that I wonder if that's truly unconditional, because you'll still maybe get upset with him or whatever, but you'll love him despite that. So like,
well, and what does love mean? So he says, I love you anyway. Does that mean I'm attached to you anyway? I can't do without you, even though you drive me crazy. I've got this attachment going on, and I can't let go. So I'll keep you warts and all because I'm specially attached. Is that the mindset? Or is it actually really I look beyond this? I can really overlook all this genuinely.
I think that's just what
And I see you and I
trying to
stay
work that
functioning behavior.
out.
And it's about being very honest with yourself in your own mind. Okay, so what is this? Is this really unconditional love? Or am I just specially attached? I can't actually let go of this addiction, really, that's feeding my ego. And I got caught up in this special relationship, and I go, I love you anyway because I can't do without you, because I feel like if I lose this person, although you drive me crazy, I'm losing a part of myself. Now that's a special relationship. So you got to be really, really vigilant and really honest with yourself as to what are my real motivations and what's my real state of mind here. Can I actually let go really of the behavior and just not focus on it, just like overlook that, and really just feel that loving presence in my own mind, and then naturally I see it in the other person. As I am, so I see them. That's how it goes. And the more I see them with that awareness, the more that activates that awareness in me, and I feel that. And so this is, yes, you're saying this is the fast track. If you can use your relationships to build this pure formless awareness of perfect love in your own mind, this is the quickest way out of the dream, because your relationships are probably what's going to cover that over and sabotage it, over and over and over again. That's why the ego invented other people and things you could have a relationship with in a seemingly separate self, from a seemingly separate self. So you're going to the very heart of like one of the ego's core mechanisms of defense, which is the special relationship with other people and things, and say, okay, well, let's change that around. Let's reinterpret that into the very like heart of the ego's kind of citadel or fortress, and then say, okay, now we can change it. And that's powerful if you can do that. Okay, so any thoughts on that? We continue.
Yeah.
You never really love another separate person.
I think I don't believe that love, that while we're having this human experience, that there isn't any of this.
Yeah.
Any of this love that wouldn't be, some of it be unconditional, if we can call it that. Because I don't, otherwise, I don't know. Another world can seem quite mad, but there's also a lot of beauty. So so it has to be there somehow.
Well, I think it's always there. It's absolutely the foundation, and so it does come through in human relationships. You get a sense of something deeper, even if someone you love to hate them and they drive you crazy. That's still there, but often it's just covered over most of the time. So you're not really in that all the time, or even most of the time. It's covered over by a lot of egoic movements of the mind that just really are designed to cover that over. It's their only purpose. So this is asking us, this path is asking us to strip all that away and say, I need to really let go of my idea that there is actually a separate person or form of life there, because you can never really love that. Right? Love means oneness. That's what love really means. Divine love is, I see you as myself. I see you as one with me. Right? That's the love of Christ, the one self. As soon as you say I, and define yourself as a separate I, love you, separate other I, self, you're in separation. Clearly, you're in a separate mindset, and that's not really love. The ego calls it love, but that's special love. Because it's actually a love designed to maximize the attachment to that person or thing, because it can be for a thing, and then use that attachment to breed all of the negative emotions that the ego loves. So now the guilt seems justified, and the fear and the anger and the projection, and it's really just designed to confirm the separate self in that person's mind. And so you can't really love another separate person. It's not possible. But you can see them as not separate. That's the unconditional divine love we're talking about. The idea they are other than you, by definition, separates you from them, and there can be no love in separation. Okay, because separation is the denial of love. So only guilt, hatred, fear, anger, all the other thoughts and emotions that deny or negate perfect love come from separation. So it's about removing all of that and then accessing the divine or unconditional love that was always there. It was always there, but just really obscured and covered over in most relationships. So very seldom did it shine through. Instead, it's saying, well, just strip away the ego entirely and let this awareness shine through, and let me see them as they really are. And then I see myself as I really am, because I can't help but see myself as I truly am if I see them as they truly are. And so Yeshua's saying, well, this process of radical forgiveness of your illusions about another is the quickest way to attain enlightenment, because then you're teaching yourself as you forgive them or let go of your triggers that they are showing to you. So they just trigger the negativity in your own mind. So that's what's really happening. So then you use the relationship to let go of your attachment to those beliefs. And then this awareness, pure formless awareness and perfect love naturally arises. And that's why it's the fast track. You can collapse the ego quicker than any other way by just practicing this in your so-called special relationships. So any thoughts on that? Okay,
so I have to, but I'm looking at, did I read this paragraph? I'm going to read this paragraph. So you
Mhm.
can never really love another separate person or form of life, because the idea that they have
Idea that they are other,
other than
that they
you,
are
my
other than you.
definition separates you from them, and there is no love in separation, only guilt, hatred, fear, anger, and all the other thoughts and emotions that deny or negate perfect love. I mean, what about all the good, like the emotions of love, or feeling like that brings out when you want. I'm not talking about the in love high. I mean, the kind of positive emotions of like the joy and the kindness of wanting to do something for that person and wanting to help, and or doing like help, or what I mean is, okay, it's still dual, okay, but the positive side.
Yeah, but it's not, because what you're doing when you're seeing that, if you're really treating them with love and kindness and respect, you're actually seeing them as yourself in truth. Although you might not consciously think of that, what's actually
Yeah.
activating in your awareness is this loving awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, as we call it. That's what's then arising, because you can't behave in that loving kindness if you're identified with a separate self. It's not possible. Separate self will stop that every time.
So where are
So that
you?
kind of genuine, loving kindness will undo the ego.
Okay, but you're still doing it in form. I think
You're
this
doing
is
it in
where,
form. Yeah,
yeah.
you may be expressing it in form. So, you do some kind, random act of kindness, let's say, to a person you know, or maybe a person you don't really know. It doesn't matter. But to do that random act of kindness, you've seen them as yourself. You go, okay, this person is not other than me. So really, I'm loving myself here. This person's just another version of me, seemingly with a separate form, but they're not really separate from me. And so this is how the golden rule works. It works on the basis of an unconditional love. It's based on this true spiritual awareness that that person is the same as you. And of course, you're going to do unto them as you would have them do unto you, because they are you. You see, and you really realize that. And you go, well, yeah, of course, loving kindness and compassion and so on makes complete sense if I see them as I am. If you see them as separate from you, then the golden rule and loving kindness make no sense at all. Because you go, no, well, they're separate from me. And so how I treat them that's not me. I can treat them however I want, and then I have my own separate self and I'm unaffected. And that's the delusion. So, how well you can actually apply the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is based on your self-concept. Do you have a separate self-concept, or do you have a concept of being one? And that's going to make the difference. So anything that's positive, genuinely, and it's not coming from the ego. It's not coming from the belief in separation. It's coming from the oneness that underlies that. And the belief in separation will just try and interfere with that. Does that make sense? Even though it's been expressed in form.
Yeah.
The mind of the person expressing it, they're really in an unconditionally loving state. They're not thinking in form terms. They're not going, well, I'm going to help this separate person, because from the separated self perspective, it doesn't make any sense. The separated self can only ask the question, what's in it for me? I'm a separate self, so why would I do this? They're other than me, so I'm going to do it if I think I can get some gain from it. But that's not unconditional. It's like I'm doing it because I think I'll get something back. I think this is going to be advantageous to me in some way, shape, or form. So I'll do it, but I want something out of it. Now that's not unconditional at all. There's a condition to it. And for the separate self, that's all it can do. Well, I'll do it because I want X, Y, Z for myself. That's special love. Whereas the unconditional says, I do it because they are me. So spiritually, I'm actually helping myself, although there seems to be another self in another form. I'm not really fooled by that. I see that really they are me, I am them. So if I give love, then I'm giving it to myself. Well, that makes complete sense if you understand that. So I'm loving myself, I'm helping myself. Well, why wouldn't I want to do that? See, but you have to have that deeply entrenched truth of oneness in your mind to be able to do that. You see that?
Yeah.
So it's
Although
not
maybe
about
some
what
people are
happens on the
not
level of
really
form.
conscious like that. It's just the sort of explanation or meaning behind it. Maybe it just is for them because it feels right, so it is. Yeah.
No, you can behave in a loving, kind way without necessarily knowing the metaphysics of this. That is possible. But that path, it's called the devotional path. If you keep doing that, you will ultimately come to know God experientially. If you keep doing that, you will experience more and more of this pure formless awareness of perfect love just arising in your mind, and you have the direct experience, and maybe you bypass the metaphysics. I think that's possible. There's different paths in the East. They call it bhakti yoga, I think, devotional path. So it's a path of just devoting yourself in love to another person, and really saying, okay, I'm just going to do love and kindness to other people. So that is a recognized path to God, because you keep doing that, you're going to have this experience, more and more of an experience of unconditional divine love arising in your own mind, even if you don't understand the metaphysics. But you're going to have to, in order to do that, in order to truly unconditionally love, you're going to have to let go of your judgment. Now, you might not go, oh, well, that's forgiveness, I'm letting it go because it's unreal. But in the end, it's the same thing. If you really let it go and you don't judge it, and you just in your true awareness, then the effect's the same as if you, okay, well, I can let it go because it's not real. So this path is very much a path for intellectuals, as Helen Chapman said. So okay, so you can understand this, really understand why, what's the intellectual basis, philosophical basis of this. And then it makes sense. And you go, okay, well, it really does make sense that I'm actually just really giving to myself. So I love another, I forgive another, I'm really letting go of my own negativity and opening my mind to this pure formless awareness of perfect love. Now, that makes complete sense to me. I completely understand that. And therefore, yes, this makes sense. So therefore, yes, I will forgive, and I will behave in loving, kind ways, because I'm just loving myself. And if my only goal is salvation or awakening, then this is going to get me there. So one could call it enlightened self-interest. Yes, my only function is salvation. I do want to escape from this world, and this is the way that I can do that. And in the process of doing that, I can, be a blessing to other people and help them to awaken as well. So it's a win-win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Based on being aware of what's happening there on that, like you said, you mentioned intellectual level, meaning, I suppose, in the Course of Miracles context, like if you are going through the course, then it gives you that another level of understanding of what's happening. Although, again, it's still the experience. So I guess you're more conscious of the meaning of that experience.
Yeah.
what's
It
happening.
gives you a framework for processing your experiences in a much more functional way. So if you understand this, you can go, okay, so whatever's happening here, it's just a projection of the belief in separation. I can't take it seriously. It's all false. So that's all the Holy Spirit's telling you. And you remain rooted in your true awareness. You just return your mind to this awareness. Well, that's actually a pretty simple idea. Very simple. The truth is simple. But to do it consistently, requires a lot of vigilance, a lot of mind training, to not be sucked into believing the projections. And that's why we do the spiritual practice, just to keep reminding ourselves, okay, it's just a dream, it's a projection. Don't get sucked in. Don't allow your mind to be absorbed into all of this and to believe all of it, because then you get stuck in guilt and sin and fear and attack and thinking you're a victim of a cruel external world. And all of it's untrue. This is the Holy Spirit's only message. So I just find, for me, I want to understand. Maybe there's other paths where they don't want to understand. They just say, well, just be loving and kind, and just do this, and then you don't have to understand the metaphysics because you get the same result. Maybe that's Buddhism in a way does that. So Buddha's approach was very direct. He didn't explain the metaphysics. When people asked him about God and these kinds of questions, a lot of the time he kept silence. He kept noble silence. He didn't answer. What is God? Where is God? That kept noble silence. That's the answer. God is in the stillness. He told the story to someone who was asking a metaphysical question. He's like, well, what about this? Where does God come from? Or why is there so much suffering in the world? What are these sorts of questions? And he just answered, and he said, well, if someone is shot an arrow into you and it's sticking into your side and you're bleeding, and are you going to ask about the origin of the arrow? Who made the arrow? What wood was it made from? Who made it? How old it is? You're not going to ask that. You're just going to take the arrow out, aren't you? And so in the same way, you don't have to ask about the origin of all this. Just remove it. So he didn't go into trying to explain the ego in the same way. He just said, just remove it. In other words, let go of any attachment to it. So it was all about non-attachment. But I think the metaphysics are helpful to understand, so that you can bring yourself into that state of non-attachment, so that you can let go. Because if you understand it's really not real and you really get that, then of course, how can I take it seriously? It's just a dream. So I take none of this seriously because it's all just a dream. And I know that I can transcend it ultimately.
Is that the...
Okay. So, that's why Yeshua takes a different approach and says, okay, well, let's really understand the dream. Let's understand the nature of the dream and the dream world, so that you can't be confused anymore. And over he tells us, and then that helps us. We keep that in mind, that principle. That helps us to reinterpret all of the mad projections of the ego in the dream world from that one perspective, which is the Holy Spirit's perspective. Look, none of this is true. The separate self isn't true. All of its projections aren't true. And none of it's true. Only pure formless awareness of perfect love or oneness is true.
Well, okay.
So that just helps us to reinterpret all of this. Mm-hmm.
So if we're referring to like the, again, I'm just going to use a negative word. I'm looking at the diagram. If I just pick some words like the blame, attack, accusation, those. But okay, and we talked about this earlier. Then in a human experience, and I'm sharing what my experience was. Say this weekend, I felt like, love, present, and things are most of the time flowing, and feel some like joy, or just those kind of things. So I mean, just coming back to that's at least getting close to that extension of your love, or I don't know, but that's not ego then. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. No, you're not ego then. Then what's happening is the spirit, God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness, spirit, whatever you want to call it, is now coming into your mind, and it's reinterpreting the dream for you. So instead of all the fear and anger and hatred, and now you get what we call positive states. It's actually beyond positive, really, because it's your natural state. It's a state of mind rather than emotion. And so you start, feeling this peace coming through, and underlying happiness, called a foundational happiness, and there's a sense of a flow, and it feels good. It's a nice experience. Well, that's not coming from the ego, because the ego is not nice. It's not capable of nice. It's only capable of what's negative. The best it can do is some kind of desire for something, and excitement. I can get into a really excited state, and then there's always going to be disappointment, because your expectations are not going to be met, and so there's always suffering sooner or later. So if you're genuinely in the spirit, then there's no suffering. You're in the flow. There's love. There's kindness. There's a gentleness to it. There's a flow, and your life experience becomes pretty good. Certainly above average. You're in this state of flow, and the ego is not present. The ego is subsided. It doesn't mean it won't come back, but you're not identified with the thought system in that state. And so the more you disidentify with this thought system, you create the space for spirit to come in and now start to guide your life. The closer you get to God. That's taking you up the ladder of separation, and away from all of this, and back ultimately to just the belief in God, or pure formless awareness. And ultimately you must get there. And all of this simply fades away because it's not real.
Okay.
So that's what's happening. You're reinterpreting the dream from the spirit. It's not the ego that's doing that. It's the Holy Spirit that's doing that, and that's what makes the dream a happy dream. The ego can't make it a happy dream. It doesn't understand happiness. It only understands misery and suffering and sickness and pain. So this isn't saying, well, life's all, this world's all terrible and just slit your wrists out. It's saying, no, actually you can have quite a happy dream while you're here, if you reinterpret it, and you use the Holy Spirit to reinterpret the dream. Then your dream can be quite happy and functional as part of your awakening to the truth. You're going back here whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So does that clarify it? It's very important to make the distinction. It's like, so what's behind your state of mind? And if it's truly positive, what we would call positive, then it's coming from this, which is actually timeless. And it's coming from God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness, which is the timeless awareness in you. It's beyond the dream of form and time and space. We'll look at this timeline consciousness. Give you another little take on this. There you can see the average life from birth to death. You've got all these events that the ego wants you to attach to, psychological, emotional attachment to various events, life experiences, and so on. None of which is true. So the timeline, the red arrow, is not true. The Holy Spirit reinterprets all of these events. So that's the blue arrow that reinterprets the events, so it goes down and helps you to manage it much better. And then it takes you up as well. It connects you with with your source. It strengthens your connection. So that's just another take on. Ultimately, if you do that through your life in every challenging situation, your mind is restored here. You don't need to do more mind training. When you finish, you just go back to pure formless awareness and perfect love. And there's no need for another body and to come back into the world, because your mind is clear and true and free. Okay, so does that make sense? It's an alternative take on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah, sure. So then if you want to read the rest of it, so this is one, hang on. Therefore to love anything or anyone in this world truly or unconditionally.
Okay. Therefore, to love anything or anyone in this world truly or unconditionally is to overlook its temporary form completely and recognize only its true nature, essence, or pure formless awareness, which is exactly the same as your own awareness. This is wonderfully expressed in the Sanskrit greeting Namaste, which literally means I'll bow to you. In spiritual circles, it has come to mean the divine in me honors the divine in you, an interpretation that comes from the Hindu belief that God resides in everyone, so every person you greet deserves the best.
Deserves respect.
So it deserves respect.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
I think that's ties in what you were saying earlier. Is, I mean, if you truly love, let's just say, someone, or showing true love, or should I just say an expression of true love, you're recognizing that what is in separate form is actually one with you.
Yeah.
And it's love's extension.
So you identify, you say that's me, and that's also me, and that person's me, and that person's me. And you don't see the separate form. You don't really see their body or their ego, mind, their personality. It's all overlooked because you recognize it's false.
When you said you recognize it's false.
You recognize the false is false and the true is true. So all form is false.
Yeah.
You don't mistake form for the essence. So it doesn't matter what someone or something looks like, the appearance, the body, the behavior, all form. It's all appearance. It's not true. So the only way you're going to do this and really experience unconditional love is to let go of your belief in that form identity. So no, I'm not going to believe in this anymore. So that's why letting go or forgiveness leads to unconditional love. Because without it, you can't experience unconditional love. So all paths involve forgiveness, radical forgiveness. You've got to let go of the ego's beliefs. And however you do that, you might not make it explicitly about forgiveness. You might not even use the word, but there's going to be a letting go of your judgment that's inherent in that, because your judgment is not going to take you back to your true nature. Okay, and then so the last couple of paragraphs is wonderfully expressed.
This is wonderfully expressed in the Sanskrit Greek. No, I did read that one.
Okay, sorry, did you?
Yeah.
Sanskrit greeting, namaste.
Yeah.
Literally means I bow to you. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Now, you can say that in a greeting, but do you really feel it? If you say that, and it's done with feeling, then you feel it. There's an energy shift. It's like someone actually was meeting a client on Friday, and one of the directors came, and she was Indian, and she said namaste, and she said it's so lovely. It's in such a lovely way. I was like, okay, that was, I could feel there was an energy. Namaste. It was like, okay, I acknowledge you. I see you as myself, and so it brings that in. That energy in, if you really understand it, which it felt like she did. She understood, what that greeting actually means.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then just the next one. So the greeting is acknowledgement of
So the greeting is acknowledgement of the true nature, essence, or pure formless awareness in another, which means that you must recognize it in yourself as well. This is why giving unconditional love is the same as receiving it. And when you love others truly, you're really loving yourself and your source, which is today's mind training lesson based on A Course in Miracles workbook. Lesson 246 reminds us the true nature, essence, or awareness that you are simultaneously feeling in yourself and acknowledging in the seeming other.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, we spoke about before earlier, where if you feel that love, presence, what you're describing there is the same as receiving. This is why giving unconditional love is the same as receiving it. Why you love others truly, you really love yourself. So, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if I consciously thought like that, but I definitely feel this. And I mean, I can say even like last weekend when I was shared with you about this group, I did feel this kind of very uplifting, loving energy around the point, like in that gathering.
So it makes you wonder, what's actually doing the healing? Is it that loving energy, or is it the substances they're using?
Well, it was the following day, although actually even maybe in the first day as well, but yeah, it was the integrating day.
So ideally, what the drugs do is they open you up to a greater experience of that loving presence. And that's what does the healing. They just what they help you to do is remove some of the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, and they do it quite quickly. In effect, get beyond your ego mind so that you open up to that deeper loving presence, can really experience it, and you can kind of break through your blocks into another state of awareness in that short period of time.
Yeah.
So that can be very helpful. If they do that, that's incredibly helpful, but you need to learn how to do that consistently yourself without the substance. Otherwise, it's just another crutch. Oh, okay, well, I need that in order to have the experience. It's like, yes, you can use it to break through, show you that that's possible, and then the truly mature spiritual student will say, okay, well, that was so now I need to go do some work on how do I actually make that state accessible without the drug. and that it's just a default. That's my default state.
Mm.
Drugs showed me, yes, that's possible. Okay, well, how do I now live that? More and more. And clearly, I can't be living on the drug. That's not what it's designed to do. And then that's when the real spiritual work starts. And I think a lot of the time that doesn't happen after these experiences.
Mm.
Isn't like a deep spiritual path that's then waiting for the person. So they don't do that, and they sort of, oh well, that was a great experience, so I'd like to do it again, and then they want to do it again and again, but they're not really taking it further each time. So you got to just be vigilant, and you make sure that the approach is love based. Ultimately, what's healing is the love, and everything's just a technique to access more of that love. If the using a substance helps you to do that temporarily, okay, so it's opened your mind. Just that opening can free you. It can be the start of this whole hero's journey, as it was for Ram Dass. He had an experience. He said it was mind blowing. I just came out of the prison of my egoic mind, and I saw beyond that, and that put him on a spiritual path for the rest of his life. Well, okay, valuable experience, but at a point he has to say no. I need to look beyond the drugs to do this, because it's not going to take me higher. It's going to lower my consciousness. Okay, so that brings us to the lesson. Some few instructions there. So let's have a little look at today's lesson. It's very short. Fortunately, we'll skip the intro bits. That's 5 paragraphs. So if we do that, we'll be here for another half an hour at least. Just read the 2 short paragraphs of the lesson, and then we'll close it out with before what Yeshua recommends you do is read this every day. So read the 4 paragraphs of insert 3, as I call it, which answers the question, what is the world? So he's asking us to do that in preparation. So you read that before the lesson, and then you read the lesson. This is kind of the overall theme, if you like, of what he's teaching in these 10 lessons. And it just sort of helps to confirm what the lesson is saying in your mind. Okay, so you want to read the main idea and then paragraph 1.
Okay. Do you want me to read both? Yeah,
I'll read the original as well as the translated.
Okay. To love my Father is to love his Son. Alternatively, to love my source is to love its extension.
Okay. So any thoughts on that? I mean, it's saying very much what we've just discussed. That's why I choose the quotes, because it kind of leads into this tonight. So how can I love my source? I say I love God. How can I do that if I don't love its extension? So I can only know that I love my source if I love its extension. It's easy to say, well, I love God, very theoretical, abstract. But can you love its extensions, which is everyone and everything? Can you love that unconditionally? And that's a whole lot harder. But if you can, then you're loving your source. The best way of loving God is to love its extension.
So that's in this experience of, it's loving and through like a love, it's a feeling, but maybe also with an action as well, that's helping your fellow brother or sister, for instance, which is the extension, right? The Son or extension.
Yeah, everyone is the extension of love. Because they are that loving awareness. They just don't know it. They're just in disguise. They've got this ego going on, which is telling them something else. So if you love the extension of that awareness, in truth, it's not even the extension. You know, we have these words in a separated construct. We call it an extension, source, the one awareness, and then its extension. But in heaven, there's no source and its extension. There's just one awareness. It's a singular awareness. So we use the concept extension in the domain of separation, because it helps us to bridge the gap between our separated state and perfect oneness. That's why we use it. Okay, so I'm going to read the alternative. Let me not think that I can find a way.
Let me not think that I can find the way to pure formless awareness of perfect love if I have hatred in my heart. Let me not try to hurt perfect love's extension and think that I can know its source or myself. Let me not fail to recognize myself and still believe that my awareness can contain my source, or my mind conceive of all the love my source has for me and all the love which I return to it.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Or if we, as we are in this experience, if we have love, if we have hatred in our heart, we're not going to find our way to perfect love. That's the separation that we're talking about of the ego. But that is not of pure formless awareness of perfect love.
So you can't try and hurt. These are all things that are not going to work. I think I can find a way. If I have hatred in my heart, it's not going to happen. I try to hurt anyone or anything, because then I don't know myself. I'm really hurting myself. And fail to recognize myself, who I really am, and still believe that my awareness can contain my source. I'm going to make that capital S, I think. Like that. Still believe that my awareness can contain my source. My mind conceive of all the love my source has for me and all the love which I return to it. So saying these are all the things that are not going to work. So it's never going to bring you home if you try all of this. So just let it go. Don't fail to recognize. Truth. Okay, and so we'll accept the way. Happy with paragraph 1?
Yeah. Anything that we're doing in terms of
Sorry?
Anything that we're doing that that's behaviors or actions which are separate, they're not going to lead to perfect pure formless awareness.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I just read both paragraphs or the alternative?
Just read it. You can just read the alternative.
I accept the way you choose for me to come to you, my source. In this, I succeed because it is your awareness that guarantees my success. And I want to recognize that your awareness is the same as mine, and only this awareness is true. And so I choose to love myself and all your extensions. Amen.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, I accept the way you choose for me to come to you, my source. I mean, I could say it's through this course, doing this course, or at least.
The way, the way God or the source chooses is this letting go. So, well, this is what's going to work. You must let go of all of the stuff he's mentioned in the first paragraph. The hatred, the wanting to hurt anyone, failing to recognize yourself, being deceived by form. You must let go of all of that to be free.
Sorry, you must let go of?
You must let go of all of this if you're going to really recognize your source. If you have any hatred in your heart, you're in a separated state. And pure formless awareness is perfect love is covered over. You're not going to experience it. And the key thing, for me is you must love the extensions of your source, because then you love the source, because the extension is the source. It's the same thing. It's one awareness. As soon as you don't love the extension, you deny the source in your own mind. You're cutting yourself off from it. Now you're in a separated state. So this idea of extension is helpful in the illusion to recognize that although these things seem to be separate, they're not really. They're just extensions of the source. They are, in fact, that awareness. In truth, in heaven, there's only one awareness, one single awareness. That's all there is. That's all there ever will be. But in your separated dream state, the extensions seem to be real because you seem to see people outside of yourself, people and things and so on outside of yourself. So then we use the word extensions to help us start from that place of, okay, well, I think they're separate, but actually the word extensions helps me to bring them back into the oneness in my mind. Realize they are just that same awareness, extensions of this one awareness. And in absolute truth, they're just that same awareness. There's no extension. You don't even need the concept of extension and some kind of self, higher self in pure formless awareness of perfect love. It just is complete unto itself. Okay, so any thoughts or feelings about that? So it's a pretty simple lesson, but yeah, the simplicity belies its difficulty. It's like to live this. If you really live this lesson, you're enlightened, perfectly enlightened. No more work to be done. You've got it.
Yeah.
So what I love about this course is each lesson is actually, although there's 365 of them, each lesson is a little mini version of the whole course. If you master that lesson, you're enlightened. So you don't need 365 lessons. If you just did this one lesson and really learned it, you'd attain perfect enlightenment. Okay. So shall we do a quick meditation?
Yeah, so that last number 4. So I choose to love myself and all your extensions there. That's just love in the course language, love my brothers.
Yeah. And all your extensions. I mean, this is all life. All life in this world, no matter what its form, has this fundamental awareness that underlies it. It's the ground of being, without which there would be nothing. There would be no life at all, no awareness. So it's what underlies all extension, and that's everything, all forms of life. But you're not focusing on the form. You see, that's the thing. You don't focus on the form. You focus on the essence of what it is. because you can feel that awareness in yourself. I'm in that awareness. I can feel it. Now I see it in everything. And so as I see it in everything, perceive it in everything, my own awareness of it gets strengthened. And it's a positive feedback loop. If you look at yeah, this is how it works. I have an awareness of truth, and then I see that in the world because I overlook the behaviors and the form that's seemingly obscuring that. And I see it. Well, I see that this is there, and then it gets reinforced for me, and then that creates another cycle of miracles. Okay, so now my intention for pure formless awareness is strengthened, and so now my behavior strengthens, my perception changes again, and I'm seeing from the truth instead of from the illusion. It gets stronger and stronger. The more you practice radical forgiveness, you change your perception and you change the way you see everything, other people, the world. And the more you do that, you see kind of miraculous outcomes. You can get some pretty extraordinary performance outcomes. That comes back and reinforces this, that this is true. So it works both positively and negatively. You can use this cycle of behavior confirming intentions for the ego, but you can also reinterpret and use it for the spirit as you choose, which is kind of the whole message. So like you must choose. Okay. So happy with that. Let's have a little quick meditation, shall we? Okay, so just make yourself comfortable and put yourself on mute. Stop your video if you want, and just sitting comfortably, feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. Start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle, drawing the energy up your spine, into your heart center, and drawing it up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And breathing in and just noticing any thoughts or any emotions going on, anything that's at all negative, limited, contracted, constricting, that you feel is covering over pure formless awareness of perfect love. You breathe into it and just breathe a spacious awareness of this loving awareness, this light. Maybe visualize the golden or white light flowing in, with just a sense of lightness to every pore and every cell and every muscle of your body and every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this golden or white light, and you breathe that in. So it's infusing your entire body and your mind and your energy system, soul, spirit, this wonderful life essence, pure formless awareness of perfect love. And then to exhale and just have a sense as you exhale of releasing all of the dark thoughts and emotions, all negative energy, as you call it. And you go into nothingness that it really is, blow it out the breeze of your breath. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here in the peace and the stillness of pure formless awareness for a few moments. And just breathe in and out through your nostrils, observing the breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. It's a very calm, clear way. And let the breath, rhythmic breath, just breathing in and out through the nose, observing the breath flowing into the nostrils and then out of the nostrils, and the touch of the breath just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. As you focus in on these very subtle sensations, mind comes more and more into the present moment, and you just let go with each breath at a deeper level, sinking deeper and deeper into this deep state of awareness. Say yourself, to love my Father is to love its extension. To love my source is to love its extension. Remind yourself as you breathe in, let me not think that I can find a way to guide or pure formless awareness of perfect love if I have hatred in my heart. So if there's any hatred in your heart, any desire to hurt anyone or anything, you just notice that and be willing to let it go, because it's all attempt not to recognize your true self. So exhale, recognize yourself as your source and doesn't believe in any of these. So just sinking in a bit deeper with each breath into the stillness, the quietness. So in your own mind, as I read these words, say to yourself, I accept the way you choose for me to come to you, my source. So addressing most innermost presence, this pure formless awareness, perfect love that is you. As you address it, you activate it. So in this, I succeed because it is your awareness. Guarantees my success. I want to recognize that your awareness is the same as mine, and only this awareness is true. And so I choose to love myself, capital self, and all your extensions. And so I choose to love myself and all your extensions. Because I recognize that my source's awareness and my brother's awareness is exactly the same. Accept the way you choose for me to come to you, my source, right now. In this, I succeed because it is your awareness that guarantees my success. And I want to recognize that your awareness is the same as mine, and only this awareness is true. So I choose to love myself. And all your extensions. So breathe in that self-love into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Breathe it into your heart center, into your mind, to your third eye. Hold it there. So this is the love of self. Feel filled up, complete. So just sink into this deep, tranquil peace. nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Breathe, observe the breath flowing into and out of the nostrils. Relax and be still. And sinking inward, the mind comes to try and distract you. Just dismiss these foolish thoughts like cloud patterns, blow them away with the breeze of your breath. Find yourself the key idea: to love my source is to love its extensions. So notice any thoughts to the contrary of that. Sink into this awareness deeper and deeper on each breath. Be silent for a couple of minutes. Just allow yourself to experience this lesson is pointing to the love of your source, and practice extending it to others. Just pick a few people in life and practice extending it now. Feel like the awareness in you and the awareness in them is the same. And just sink into the stillness, still awareness and perfect love. A couple of minutes of deep contemplative silence. Any thoughts come in to seemingly disturb your peace, lots of separation in any way, shape, or form towards anyone or anything, just notice them, breathe into them, say, to love my source is to love its extension. So I love my source, my true self, as I really am, as I love its extension in this situation, every situation. Just breathe in the source to any dark areas in your body. Visualize light flowing in to any areas of your mind. Feel this loving light presence bathing you in its healing light and Helping you to let go of the darkness. Blow it out with the breeze of your breath. Imagine it's like a dark cloud just being blown away. The breeze of your breath. And just rest here for a few more moments. And the stillness and the quietness of true awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, your source. Just rest in that. Next minute or so of deep silence. And so just gently coming back, this deep state of awareness into awareness of your body and the breath and the senses and the world. On the count of three, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Notice any thoughts and emotions going on, any related physical sensations. Breathe into there if there's anything less than happiness and peace, and breathe into it. Mind yourself that to love my source is to love its extension as you exhale. Exhale out and just letting it all go. Breathe in your breath. The nothingness that it really is, it's going, gone. Follow the stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just find a deep peace, the peace of God. It's been called the passes all understanding. The bottom of the exhale. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you touch with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle, notice the smell in your nose as you do that. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment without any judgment, just observing all these sensations from still calm, non-judgmental presence, which connects you with the true awareness that you are, and the unconditional love for all of your sources, extensions. So it's said, so it's done. And so on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around as you do that. Just observing any object in the room for a few seconds. Notice that underlying your perception of it is still this awareness, same awareness that you had when your eyes are closed is still there, so it hasn't gone anywhere. Just don't move into any kind of naming, judging, labeling of the object, and you find that awareness is still there. And look at something else and notice that it doesn't matter what it is, that awareness is still there. And again, something else and something else. You do that for half a dozen objects. You start to see from this experience that there's really only one awareness that underlies everything, and that experience fully, wholly, completely. The rest of the evening and on into your week ahead. So it's said, so it's done. And so just stay in peace. Use this as the theme for the week. To love my sources, to love its extension, and really try and love everyone. Treat everyone with loving kindness. Tomorrow and the days to come, and you'll find that you're actually living this course. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Jono.
And hope you enjoyed that, and hope to see you soon in the Zoom room.
Yeah.
Again, I'll let you know about the other stuff by email. This in the next day or two. I just need to finish it off really.
Sure.
And then maybe we can have a chat.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Good
Namaste.
night. Thank you, John. Namaste.
Okay. Thanks for joining. Night. Sleep well.
Good night. You
All
too.
right.
Thank you.
Bye for a while.